A white lowly employee insults a black millionaire's father. But the aftermath is unbelievable. There are moments in life that test you. Not just your patience but your values, your upbringing, and your very sense of justice. This was one of those moments. It was a crisp autumn morning. The kind where the air smelled of fresh-baked bread and steaming coffee. The small cafe on the corner of Fifth Avenue and Maple was my father's favorite place. It wasn't fancy. Just a quiet spot where he could read his newspaper and enjoy a warm drink. That morning I had decided to meet him there. Life had been so busy lately that I hadn't spent as much time with him as I wanted. My father was getting older, and I knew every moment with him was a gift. When I walked in, he was already there, sitting by the window in his usual spot. Dressed in his neatly pressed slacks and a light gray button-up, he looked sharp just as he always did. Despite everything he had been through in his life, growing up in poverty, facing discrimination, working twice as hard for half the recognition, he always carried himself with dignity. "Son," he greeted me with a warm smile as I sat down. "Glad you could make it." I smiled back. "Wouldn't miss it for the world, Dad." We fell into easy conversation talking about family, work, and life. He always had words of wisdom, little lessons hidden in simple stories. I admired him more than he would ever know. And then it happened. A young white employee, no older than his early 20s, walked past our table carrying a tray. He glanced at my father, and something in his face changed. Disdain. Disgust. It was subtle but unmistakable. Then under his breath but loud enough for us to hear, he muttered, "Ugh, I hate when people like him come in here. Always acting like they belong." For a moment I froze. I wasn't sure I had heard him right. My brain struggled to process it. Surely, in this day and age, people didn't still say things like that out loud. But then I saw my father's face. He didn't look shocked. He didn't even look angry. He just looked tired. It was the kind of tired that comes from years of swallowing insults, from knowing that no matter how much you achieve, no matter how much dignity you carry yourself with, there will always be people who see you as less. My hands clenched into fists under the table. My heart pounded with anger, my breath quickening. I could feel my blood boiling. Before I could react, my father placed a hand on mine. "Son," he said softly, "not like this." His voice was calm, but the sadness in it cut deeper than any anger ever could. "Not like this." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. But my mind raced. Why should we just let it go? Why should he, this boy who had probably never worked a hard day in his life, get to disrespect a man who had spent decades building his life from nothing? The employee smirked as if he had won. As if my father's silence meant he had succeeded in putting him in his place. That's when I knew. I wasn't going to let this go. "You know," I said, pushing my chair back and standing up, "that's an interesting thing to say." The employee raised an eyebrow. "Oh yeah? And why's that?" "Because I own this cafe." His face dropped. "What?" I pulled out my phone and made a quick call. "Mr. Reynolds," I said, my voice loud enough for everyone in the cafe to hear. "I need you to come down to the shop. We have a situation." Mr. Reynolds was the manager, someone I had trusted to run the place while I handled other business. I had bought the cafe 2 years ago as a way to give back to the community. A place where people, no matter their background, could feel welcome. The employee laughed nervously. "Look, man, I don't know what you're trying to do, but you don't know who I am, do you?" I asked, tilting my head. He frowned. "Should I?" I took a slow breath, letting the moment settle. "My name is Jonathan Carter. I built my company from the ground up. I own several businesses, including this one." The color drained from his face. The other employees had stopped what they were doing. Customers sat frozen in their seats, eyes darting between me and the now visibly panicked employee. He swallowed hard. I didn't mean anything by it. It was just a joke, man." "A joke," I repeated, shaking my head. "Tell me, what was funny about it? The part where you tried to degrade a man who did nothing to you? The part where you thought you could say whatever you wanted because you assumed he was beneath you?" He opened his mouth, but no words came out. By now, Mr. Reynolds had arrived. He took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. "What happened?" I pointed at the employee. "This man just disrespected my father. He insulted him loud enough for everyone here to hear. Now tell me, Do you think someone like that belongs in a cafe that I own? Mr. Reynolds turned to the employee, his face a mask of disappointment. Is this true? The employee stammered. I didn't mean. Answer the question, Reynolds said sharply. The young man looked around, but no one came to his defense. The silence of the room told him everything he needed to know. Reynolds sighed. You're done here. Hand in your apron and leave. The employee's face twisted with frustration, his jaw tightening as his eyes darted around the cafe. He was looking for anyone to step in to defend him, to say that this was all just a misunderstanding. But no one spoke. No one moved. The silence around him was suffocating. His breathing grew heavy, his fingers twitching at his sides. He knew there was no way out. He could try to argue, but the truth was laid bare for everyone to see. He had disrespected a man who had done nothing to him, and now he was paying the price. With an angry grunt, he ripped off his apron, his fingers fumbling with the knot at his waist as he yanked it free. He threw it onto a nearby table with a sharp thwop, the sound cutting through the quiet cafe. Whatever, man, he spat, his voice dripping with resentment. This place isn't even worth it. No one responded. No one even looked at him with sympathy. If anything, some of the customers shook their heads, others whispering among themselves. Realizing he had lost, he scoffed, turned on his heel, and stormed out of the cafe, the door swinging violently behind him as he disappeared down the street. For a few seconds I just stood there, my fists still clenched, my heart still racing. The air in the cafe felt heavy, charged with the weight of everything that had just happened. Then finally I let out a slow breath. The tension that had wrapped itself around my chest began to loosen, releasing the anger that had been boiling inside me. I turned back to my father. He was still seated, still calm, his expression unreadable. He had seen so much in his life, endured so much, yet he had never let hate consume him. Dad, I know you don't like conflict, I said, my voice quieter now, steady but still thick with emotion. But I couldn't just let that go. For a moment he didn't speak. He just looked at me, his deep brown eyes searching mine. There was no anger in them. No sadness. Just understanding. Finally he nodded. I know, son, he said softly. And I'm proud of you. His words hit me harder than anything else that had happened that day. They reached a place deep inside me. A place that still held the boy who had once looked up to his father, wanting nothing more than to make him proud. I swallowed hard, blinking back the emotions rising in my chest. Respect is not something that should be begged for. It's something that should be given freely, regardless of race, status, or background. And my father, he had spent his whole life teaching me that dignity is not about how much money you have or what title you hold. It's about standing tall, even in the face of disrespect. It's about knowing your worth, even when others refuse to see it. And in that moment I knew no amount of money, no amount of power, meant more than the dignity of a good man. And that was the real victory. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of this journey. Every story we share here is meant to inspire, educate, and spark real conversations about the struggles and triumphs of our people. If this video resonated with you, if it made you think, or if you learned something new, do me a favor, hit that like button. It really helps get this message out to more people. I also want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Whether it's your perspective, an experience, or just some words of encouragement. This channel is not just about telling stories. It's about building a community where our voices are heard. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. I put my heart into creating these videos, and I don't want you to miss what's coming next. There's so much more to uncover, so much more truth to tell, and I want you right here with me for the journey. Most importantly, if you believe this message needs to be heard, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or your whole social media feed, let's spread awareness, educate, and uplift each other. Thank you for your time, your support, and your energy.